certainly we really welcome you here this afternoon and taking time pause. It really is a time to pause since we've just crossed the full year of the announcement of the pandemic, and it is an enormously reflective time. It's an enormously reflective time for all of us, and certainly all of us at UCCC as we really navigated some of these waters. And many of our parents may not fully understand that we not only navigated our world, but we helped other schools navigate the challenge of COVID. We really set the pace for a lot of schools, and so we're really, really proud of the fact that we did that, and we were looked to as as somebody who was kind of trying to stay ahead of what it is. And certainly our program team has proven their enormous dedication to your children, to you as your family, to make sure that we can do this in the safest possible way. And so we're really proud of the organization, and certainly proud of our teachers. I mean, our teachers have just been just warriors, and sometimes I don't like to use that word in relationship to the work we do, but they were really warriors, showing up and being here and navigating their own internal fears. They're navigating their fears for their family and their family members. I could just cry right now. I can't believe this. To be here for you and your families. There it goes. It's happening. But so we're really, really pleased at where we started, where we are, and thinking about where we're going, how we're going to go forward, and what's in store for us over the next. Well, every day is a new day for us. A new person getting vaccinated, a new one who comes out tomorrow will be my final day. I'll be free to be in the community with a mask. So Laura, again, thank you all for entrusting us with your children over these past months. And Laura, yeah, go for it.
I'll take it away. So it didn't, I'll be amiss if I don't recognize that this week, a year ago, is when we shut down. And that's pretty staggering to think. I remember having this conversation with Jessica, actually, when we decided to shut down back in March of 2020, thinking we'd be gone for a couple of weeks, maybe not even. And here we are 365 days later, still battling this virus. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And not only that, we know it's not a train, it is sunshine. It's that beautiful rainbow yesterday, if anybody caught that yesterday afternoon. And we've made it, we're making it. There's a beautiful, beautiful light. So we wanted to talk today and give you another update on all of the information that's coming out through the CDC, through our county health department, as well as an update on our own vaccination process here within the center on how we're keeping each other safe, your children safe, and your family safe. So I want to start with kind of just our process of how we have introduced this thought of the vaccine to our staff members. And then we'll get into more of the logistics about what this all means after post-vaccination world. So as soon as vaccines became in development back in October and November, we started having conversations internally as an administrative team, the leadership team, with local health officials and really trusted members of our healthcare community, making sure that we provided our staff members and teachers with the best information in order to make good decisions for themselves and their families. So we had already started these conversations back in November and December of 2020. We had a phenomenal parent support for this process. We have some great parents from our organization who were able to provide a lot of information, webinars, emails, just support and education around the vaccine. And we have an infectious disease doctor, a public health official, who are family members here, who our teachers know and trust and love. So it was very easy for us to get some information in the hands and in the minds of our teachers about the efficacy of the vaccine, the pros and cons, start dispelling a lot of that mistrust that many people have of our health system, and especially the rationale behind how this vaccine could come about so quickly when others take many, many years. So we started that educational process. We pulled our staff back in January to see where everyone was kind of laying as far as their willingness and anxiety as far as getting a vaccine. We then educated again as more and more information came out. We're still waiting at this point for it to be readily available to us, but we continue to educate, continue to print out the information from the CDC, from the World Health Organization, from our county health departments, and from our trusted partners, getting as much information as possible into the hands and the minds of our teachers. In late February, vaccines were starting to roll, or I should say in early February, vaccines were starting to roll out for our healthcare providers and those in Tier 1. We were notified that educators would be in phase 1B, Tier 3. So we were not yet quite eligible. In late February, we continued to monitor this. In late February, Illinois, the state of Illinois, our lovely neighbors, did make it eligible for teachers to become vaccinated much earlier than our lovely state here in Missouri. So we took full advantage of that and worked through Walgreens and Walmart, which are federally mandated locations. So it didn't matter where you lived, you could receive your vaccine through there. So those who were ready, as far as our teaching staff, went over to Illinois, beautiful Waterloo, Columbia, Collinsville, Belleville, we saw it all, and received their first vaccines over there. Some of us traveled as far as Hannibal, Missouri, those who were eligible in the first tier. Some of us have traveled to St. Peters, Missouri, Farmington, you name it, we've probably been out there. Warrenton. We've traveled quite a few miles to get these vaccines into the bodies of those who are wanting it. On February 26th, Governor Parsons made had a press release that announced that the next tier, which was Tier 3, was available for educators on March 15th. So we had about 2 weeks to prepare for the rest of our staff to have their vaccines. Luckily, though, on March 1st, President Biden announced that all teachers, all educators, including early childhood educators, were federally allowed to get vaccines. So we then started looking for those federal allotments, again at Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and we were able to get all of those vaccines scheduled starting March 1st. So I am incredibly happy and proud to say that as of today, 88% of our staff are vaccinated. So 88% of our teachers have at least their first and some their second shots in their bodies. That is an incredibly high amount. We're really, really happy. We're really, really proud of our teachers. This was not an easy decision for a lot of individuals. There's a lot of mistrust in the healthcare community. There's a lot of anxiety around the swiftness of this vaccine development. So for 88% of our teachers to know and understand that this was a decision that they made not only to protect themselves, but to protect your children and families is pretty amazing. All that to say, the remaining 12% are not no's. So we continue to educate our staff. There's some percentage of our staff who are not eligible yet because of prior medical and health conditions. So that's not why they're not an absolute no, I don't want to get the vaccine. It's just I have to wait a certain amount of time before I can. So that's very great news on that front. So currently it's 5 front forward teaching staff members who have not received their first vaccine. And again, I want to reiterate, just because they have not received their first one doesn't mean they won't eventually. We're going to continue to take a slow approach. A lot of individuals want to make sure that after we have our first and second doses, they're able to see what that means for us as a community. So we're going to take that as a slow rollout for the remaining 5 individuals. That's 2 full-time and 3 part-time teachers that we're looking at. So that comes to the next question as of mandating the vaccine within the center. So currently we are not mandating the vaccine. That is just our current stance on our organization. This may change based on recommendations from our health officials, from the CDC. We are able to mandate the vaccine legally, but we are choosing to take the pathway of educating and letting individuals make the decisions for themselves and their families that best fit them. That does not mean that a mandate might not come down the road in a month or 2 after more information and more data is available on the vaccine and its benefits. So that's just kind of where we stand right now. That may change in the future. It may have changed had we not had such a high success rate of individuals choosing to be vaccinated on their own regard too. So that's phenomenal. So that's where we stand currently with our process of getting vaccinated. It's been really a full court press, so to speak, of all of our program team members doing a lot of vaccine hunting, a lot of 11:58 p.m. searches on the Walmart websites and scheduling everybody for those accounts on Walgreens and CVS. It is not an equitable system whatsoever. And I feel very fortunate that we have a great team and great teachers who allowed us to do that search for them and put their trust in us throughout this process to get them the best available appointment and vaccine. We have teachers who've gotten the Moderna, Pfizer, and the Johnson & Johnson, so it's across the board. That's a lot of information. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat before I kind of move on to part B, which is what does it mean come April when we have 88 to 90 to 95 to 100% of us fully vaccinated for the organization, especially for your children in the classroom. So Jessica's going to monitor the chat. So if you have specific questions, please write them in there so we can make sure we answer everything today. So changes that will occur once we have full vaccination here. And full vaccination means herd immunity with individuals who have had their first and second dose and 2 weeks after their second dose or 2 weeks after their first or their only shot of Johnson & Johnson. So when we say full vaccination, that means the 2 weeks after their second dose, which everybody can come give Steve a hug on Sunday if they'd like, if you're fully vaccinated as well. He'll very much look forward to that. So we're in a very interesting situation. Even though we as adults will be fully vaccinated here, your children can't be vaccinated. So we will continue all of our prior arrangements as far as masking throughout the day and in our classrooms. So we will continue to do the social distancing. We will continue our sanitation efforts and our cleaning efforts. So all of that information, or all of that still remains the same, and that's to keep children who are unvaccinated and cannot mask properly like adults can all the time. So that we will continue all of those efforts. We will still be masked up until children are able to receive vaccines or until the CDC and our public health officials say that it is safe for us. Some big changes for our organization, though, are the announcements that the CDC just put out. So the CDC announced that fully vaccinated individuals do not have to quarantine if exposed to someone who has had tested positive for COVID-19. So that means that if a child in the classroom or a child's parent tests positive for COVID, the classroom will still have to quarantine because, again, children are still exposed. Children cannot protect themselves at this point with a vaccine. But the teachers, the adults, if they are fully vaccinated, would not have to quarantine. And that's a pretty big deal because the federal government also just announced that March 31st is the end of that COVID leave that gives you paid 14 days off if you had to quarantine. So that's good news and another reason to become fully vaccinated. So we will continue to have to quarantine classrooms if we have positive cases within the building with our children, but our teachers will not have to quarantine. The other piece that doesn't really affect our organization, but does affect individuals, is this newest information from the CDC that fully vaccinated individuals can be inside in small groups with other fully vaccinated individuals without a mask. So while that doesn't affect us, because we will always be working with unvaccinated children here, it does affect quality of life for our teachers or anyone else who gets fully vaccinated. So that's a pretty big deal for us, and we're tracking that information as well. It does mean that we are able to, after confirming with some public health officials, that fully vaccinated teachers are safe to move from one classroom to another. We will continue to be wearing our masks. We will continue to do all the sanitation policies and procedures that we have done. But once a teacher is fully vaccinated, they are then able to move from one classroom to another. Children will remain in stable groups. So kids are still, again, not in a protected class with this vaccine. So they're still going to remain with their only children inside and outside at this time. If the public health officials come out with something different, we may have another conversation, but at this time, they are still recommending stable groups for unvaccinated individuals. We are gradually increasing our numbers within the classrooms as the CDC has released more information about the incredibly low transmission rate among small children, especially. That's very good news. So we will be continuing to increase our classroom sizes throughout the next several months into the summer, doing a very slow increase. So right now we'll go to 11 in our preschool classrooms. In another 3 or 4 weeks, go to 12, then 13, then 14, taking it weeks by weeks so that children and teachers have time to adjust with those new children in their classrooms. And again, we will still have stable groups. So that way, if a classroom does have to quarantine, it will only affect that one particular classroom and not both classrooms next to each other. Let's see, infants and toddlers still remain at 8. That's a licensing ratio, so they will not be increasing children in those class sizes. A lot of questions have been coming up about, can we know if our teacher is vaccinated or not? For HIPAA reasons, we are not allowed to divulge if an individual has been vaccinated or not. We will, and we will continue to do so, keep you apprised as to the percentage in the center vaccinated. So again, right now we're at 88, which is 5 individuals not vaccinated. I can't say fully vaccinated at this point, but not vaccinated. So we will continue to be transparent around the percentage of individuals who have been vaccinated. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not able to divulge individuals for HIPAA reasons, obviously. Until the CDC comes out with more information about travel and the cases are lower of positive COVID cases and more individuals become vaccinated, the travel restrictions for our families is still in place at this point. So we're not changing any of our policies or procedures about quarantining for individuals until the CDC and our public health officials say that it is safe, until the vaccine is more widely available for the general population. We're going to continue asking our families to quarantine and or get tested prior to coming back after a travel or a trip, or if you go into any large areas such as concerts or baseball games, those sort of things that are still high risk activities with larger groups of individuals. Just keep in mind that the vaccine, we still are only at 10% of the state of Missouri population that's even been vaccinated with just 1 shot. So this COVID is still very much there. And with weather getting nicer, there's going to be more large gatherings. So we still ask everyone to take the precautions that are necessary to keep each other safe and healthy here. And we will continue to only have our internal staff and students throughout in the building. So we're going to continue our pickup and drop off curbside again until it is safe to do so, which means until we have more of our general public vaccinated, until the number of cases of COVID decline tremendously. We want to make sure that we're able to keep our building and our classrooms open as long as possible. So we will continue those policies and procedures as well. The big one that everybody wants to know is, when are we going to extend our hours again? It's coming. It's coming. So as soon as we hit that full vaccination stage, which we expect to be the first week of April. So that means the majority of our teachers will have had their second shot by then. We will be able to start extending our hours. So look for that information coming soon. We are going to be doing a gradual extension of our hours starting in April. And that's for the benefit of, at this point, we still have to have 2 teachers in every classroom, because 1 teacher has to be in the classroom with the children and 1 teacher running kids in and out of the building to the cars. So having 3 teachers in every classroom all day long, it's not possible to go extend more than 9 hours at this point. But once we hit that full vaccination stage and we're able to have a teacher move between 2 classrooms, or someone like myself or Jessica then take different children from different classrooms from the cars, it makes it a lot easier to staff the classrooms for a longer span of the time. So look for that coming in April, and it's all thanks to our teachers getting vaccinated. That's really pretty huge. One other question was asked through the survey that I want to make sure that I hit was, looking back over the past year, what were the number of positive cases? And we've been pretty transparent about this information as far as positives versus exposure or quarantine. We have had 6 children test positive for COVID-19 and 4 positive staff cases throughout the past year. And that has been it. Thankfully, it was minimal exposure and minimal transmission throughout the whole past year. So we're really, really thankful for all of our families for being diligent, for all of our teachers being diligent. And we're even more thankful for the scientists and the healthcare workers who were able to make this vaccine a reality for us so we can get back to somewhat normalcy. I think that is all the information. I'm going to turn it to questions now, Jessica, if we have any.
There is one question in the chat asking about if this will affect when children transition from one room to the next age.
Yeah, and at this time, because of low transmission rate for children, one thing we're not doing with transitions is they're not spending part of their day and part of that transition week in their new classroom. So really, once they are, and that's really unfortunate, because we know how hard it is for children to transition from one classroom to another. And right now, it really is kind of a hard stop in one room and a quick start in the next. But the teachers have been really great as far as going to the windows, looking in on the doors, especially at the playground time, being able to look in. They're able to see their new teachers from afar and are able to Zoom virtually with new teachers as well. And we're working really hard to make those transitions as easy as possible, especially now when we have a lot of 3-year-olds moving into the preschool classrooms, pairing them with a buddy that they already know, or making sure that they're transitioning to a classroom where maybe a friend from the Moonbeams or the Milky Ways already is. So we're working really hard to make those transitions, but they do start in one classroom or end in one classroom and then start the very next Monday in their new classroom. Other questions? Wow. Steve, you look like you want to say something.
Oh, no, I just threw something in the chat. Just say, I mean, really, it is about kudos for the sensitivity around transitions. I mean, there's so much chaos going on in our world right now, and it's chaotic. We try to keep some stability in the school setting for children, and when we start thinking about transitions, that it's such an enormous upheaval in the best of times. But it also gives the opportunity for our teachers to fully understand that we have to be ready for children. So our teachers have to be ready for the children, the ages, the developmental stages, all of those philosophical underpinnings that we believe we are anchored in, that enables all of this to go better. Because every day is a phenomenon for our children, and we have to see each child for who they are. And we have some teachers who are really doing a beautiful job of really staying focused in spite of their own desires to make changes and to free up and to run amok. And again, it's been just a beautiful framework. So kudos to the program team for really articulating that to you, but staying in our truth about what's really best for individual children as best we can, and as much as we can. So thank you for that.
Well, one last plug, as we'll wait for a couple more minutes to see if there's any additional questions. But since there's no teachers on this meeting, one last plug. Teacher Appreciation Week comes up in May. And we will be looking for some input from some parents who might want to help us celebrate our teachers this year. If there's a year that they deserve the world, this would be it. So we're looking to go big or go home and showing our love and appreciation for our teachers. So look for that coming out in the parent newsletter. If you want to help virtually or from home, or have some great ideas about how we can celebrate our teachers, that's coming up. So we want to make sure we get a jump on that. That is all the information to share right now as far as vaccines. If anyone has individual questions or questions pertaining specific to their family that you want to reach out to Jessica or myself, please feel free. How many teachers? We have 45-ish teachers. Jessica, help me out there.
It's about 40. Yeah.
It's about 40. Okay.
I would live with the ish word, though.
Ish. Yeah, ish is good. Ish is a good word. Please reach out to us individually if you have questions specific to your situation. We will also hang around here for a couple more minutes if you want to unmute and chat about anything else. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend. I hope that you get the vaccine yourself when eligible and comfortable, and it makes sense for you all. If you need help, we're pretty good vaccine hunters at this point in the game. So may the best man win. Good luck. We'll hang out for a little while. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.